Hello and thank you for joining us on the news at 7 on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali. Shegun Ajayi is the sign language interpreter. We are streaming live on Vision TV 24/7 and on other social media platforms displayed on your screen. Let's now take the headlines. Supreme Court uphold election of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State and 7 other state governors. President Tinubu joins other Muslim faithful at a special Jumat prayer to mark 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Plus, Israel responds to genocide lawsuit filed by South Africa at United Nations Top Court. And we begin from the presidency, where President Bola Tinubu suspends the 4 programs administered by the National Social Investment Programs Agency, NSIPA, which are NPA, Conditional Cash Transfer, Government Enterprise and Empowerment, as well as the Homegrown School Feeding Program. The suspension, which is for a period of 6 weeks, is sequel to the ongoing investigation on the alleged mismanagement of funds. A ministerial panel has therefore been constituted to conduct a thorough review of the agency's operations with a view to recommending necessary reforms of the NSIPA. During the period of the suspension, all NSIPA-related activities, including distributions, payments, collaborations, and registrations, are put on hold. The president assures Nigerians that his administration remains committed to ensuring that the agency operates exactly as intended for the benefit of the most vulnerable Nigerians. Reprieve has finally come the way of the governors of Zamfara, Cross River, Abia and Ebonyi states as the Supreme Court validated their victory as the March 18, 2023 governorship election. Olabode Arewa reports that the Supreme Court panel of justices, which sat on the 4 appeals, delivered concurrent verdicts on those appeals.
Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara filed the appeal against the decision of the Court of Appeal, which had declared former governor, now Minister of State Defense, as winner of the Zamfara governorship election. The apex court, after reviewing the arguments canvassed by all the parties, held that ex-governor Matawale's claims that election irregularities took place on election day were not supported by evidence. It therefore upheld Governor Dauda's victory. The apex court also upheld the victory of Abia Governor Alex Oti in the appeals filed by Oke Aiwe of the People's Democratic Party and Ikechi Emenike of the All Progressives Congress. The apex court, in doing so, threw out the appellant's claims that Oti was not a registered Labour Party member, as at the deadline prescribed by INEC for parties to submit their candidates' names. In the Ebonyi State governorship election appeal, the court also affirmed the victory of Governor Francis Nwifuru after dismissing the appeal filed by Chukwuma Odi of the People's Democratic Party against the decisions of the appellate and trial courts. Similarly, the apex court affirmed Cross River State Governor Basi Otu's victory at the 2023 election after dismissing the appeal filed by Professor Sandy Ono. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court sitting in Abuja has reversed the decisions of the Kano State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal and that of the Court of Appeal Abuja, which nullified the election of Abba Yusuf as governor of Kano State. The 5-man panel of justices led by Justice John Okoro in a unanimous decision affirmed Abba Yusuf as the duly elected governor of Kano State. Dele Atumbi of our judiciary desk reports on this and 3 other governorship appeals.
The Kano State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal in September nullified the election of Abba Kabir Yusuf of NNPP as the governor of Kano State and pronounced Nasiru Yusuf Gawuna of the All Progressives Congress as governor-elect. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja in November 2023 upheld the decision of the tribunal, which cancelled 165,616 votes from NNPP votes due to the absence of stamping of the ballots. In a substantial verdict, the Supreme Court restored the cancelled votes and made a consequential verdict by pronouncing Abba Kabir Yusuf as the duly elected governor of Kano State. Justice John Iyango Koro, who delivered the lead judgment, held that the law of natural justice was turned upside down by the two courts below to arrive at the unjust and unfair decision. The court thereafter allowed the appeal of Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf. The Apex Court also allowed the appeal of the Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang. Though the tribunal upheld the election of the governor, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja nullified the declarational return of the governor. In a well-considered verdict of the Supreme Court, the five-man panel of justices averred that the Court of Appeal lacked jurisdiction on the issues which were pre-election matters. The Apex Court reversed the decision of the Court of Appeal and found merit in the appeal by Governor Caleb Mutfwang. The Apex Court also dismissed the two appeals against the election of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. The candidates of Labour Party and PDP were the appellants in the matter. The court affirmed the declaration and return of Babajide Sanwo-Olu as governor of Lagos State. The appeal of Sadiq Abubakar of the APC on the conduct of the Bauchi State governorship election was equally dismissed. Sadiq Abubakar challenged the election of Governor Bala Muhammad. The Supreme Court dismissed the appeal for lacking in merit due to the inability of the appellant to substantiate alleged non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 in the conduct of the election. The verdicts of the Supreme Court have put paid to all litigations on the conduct of governorship election in Kano, Lagos, Plateau, and Bauchi states. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has reacted to this Friday's Supreme Court judgment after he was affirmed as the duly elected governor of the state. While chatting with State House correspondents, he described the judgment as victory for Lagosians. Governor Sanwo-Olu says with the litigation now over, his attention is focused on delivering greater benefits of democracy to the people of the state.
Thank all of our citizens in Lagos for their support, in respect of what party affiliation you are, and to call everyone, all Lagosians, to join us once again on our Greater Lagos journey. It's a journey where we've said no one will be left behind. We are transforming the state, the city. We're building structures, processes, institutions that will outlive us, and we're putting in place a governance structure that would improve the economic, relevance of Lagos in the country. And so for us, it's not just about a victory. It's about the people that have put in all of their hope and aspiration into our government. So really is to ask everybody to join us in respect of whatever party it is.
And away from the courts, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has restated commitments to conduct a credible primary election that will produce the party's candidate for this year's governorship election in Edo State. The party gave the assurance at a stakeholders meeting in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
This stakeholders meeting held at the national headquarters of the PDP in Abuja is to reconcile aggrieved members by the party's National Working Committee.
We've already agreed to work together as one family.
5 aspirants, female and 4 males, have so far indicated interest for the Edo State #1 seat. They, however, differ in their preparedness towards producing a consensus candidate.
My position on the matter, that I'm contesting my election. I'm contesting to be governor of Edo State, to be a candidate of PDP in Edo State. And as such, a section cannot tell me not to contest.
There are a lot of people who shout zoning, zoning, zoning. You cannot go to equity without clean hands.
If there's a consensus, I will always flow with what the consensus is, what the party says.
The Congress, where a governorship candidate is expected to emerge, will be held on February 22, 2024. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Now, President Bola Tinubu, serving and retired military personnel, joined other Muslim faithful at the Abuja National Mosque to pray for the repose of the souls of those who lost their lives defending the territorial integrity of the country and for Allah's continued victory for those in active service. Religious correspondent Abdullahi Ajia reports that the Imam, Professor Ibrahim Makari, in his sermon enjoins worshippers to remain steadfast in the fear of Allah and act of patriotism at all times.
The Imam of the Abuja National Mosque, Professor Ibrahim Makari, in his sermon to the congregation, draws the attention of worshippers on the fabrics of social cohesion, peaceful coexistence, and social justice, which the cleric maintains are parts of religious obligation upon Muslims required to build the nation. He emphasizes the need for obedience to law and order with equality before the law.
How peace and harmony can unveil in the country. What are the measures that, if taken, the peace, inshallah, will continue to prevail in Nigeria?
With President Bola Tinubu, members of the armed forces, and representatives of government in attendance, the Imam led a special dua for Allah's continued benevolence on the Nigerian military, whose sacrifice, he says, is a commitment to security of lives and property, as well as a symbol of unity that citizens enjoy.
The message is how Nigerians should continue to support our gallant armies in their endeavors, because without the support of the citizen, they cannot deliver on their assignment.
I call on Nigerians to continue to support our fallen heroes, to continue to pray and support our armed forces that are in the field, doing all that they can to ensure that the security challenges facing our country is dealt with adequately and create an environment of peace for government to be able to deliver all its promises.
The cleric enjoins the congregation and indeed Nigerians to rededicate themselves to nation building. The special Jumaat prayer is one of the activities lined up to commemorate the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration. In Abuja, Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says the US and British airstrikes carried out early Friday against Houthi targets in Yemen over recent attacks on Red Sea shipping were necessary and proportionate. Sunak, in a statement, said they have taken limited, necessary and proportionate action in self-defense alongside the United States to degrade Houthi military capabilities and protect global shipping. U.S. President Joe Biden described the joint strikes as defensive and warned of further measures if the Iran-backed rebels kept attacking Red Sea shipping. He said Australia, Bahrain, Canada and the Netherlands had also provided non-operational support. The Houthis have stepped up attacks in recent weeks on shipping in the Red Sea, a vital waterway through which 12% of world trade flows. Now, EU countries will next week discuss a plan to set up a naval mission to help protect Red Sea shipping following attacks from Yemen's Houthi rebels. Diplomats aside on Friday. This proposal is in the pipeline in Brussels for several weeks, was mooted before U.S. and British forces struck rebel-held Yemen. Haman Jabani reports.
An EU effort could seek to complement a US-led coalition which includes numerous countries from the bloc already operating in the vital shipping route. The exact details of the size and scope of any EU mission remain to be hammered out, and European diplomats say a first discussion could take place in Brussels on Tuesday. The EU last year initially mulled a plan to extend its Atalanta mission focused on protecting shipping off Somalia, but that move was blocked by Spain. Diplomats say EU foreign ministers could strike an agreement on establishing the new mission at the upcoming meeting in Brussels.
Too often when there are refugee flows because of a conflict, we are the one that take the major part of it. When we see that energy prices go up because of international tensions, we are the one who are paying it. So instead of being a payer, too often we've said we need to be a player. That means that in these situations, we need to do a much more proactive effort in trying to get everyone on the same line. Now, that is an easy thing to say. We know that conflicts like that are often not the easiest one to get everyone aligned. But yes, it is definitely one of our ambitions is to try to work in the most proactive way as possible to get to a common position and to also get to action.
The Iran-backed Houthis have carried out a growing number of attacks on what they deem to be Israel-linked shipping in the key international trade routes since October 7, when Hamas's unprecedented attack on Israel sparked the war, which is still raging on the besieged Gaza Strip. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. More stories after the break. Do stay tuned. You're welcome back. Israel has responded on Friday to the lawsuit filed by South Africa, describing it as profound distortion and malevolent genocide against it at United Nations top court. Justin Bemunyi reports that Israel maintains that it was not in any way seeking to destroy the Palestinian people. Here is the report.
But if there is a place where words should still matter, where truth should still matter, it is surely a court of law. The applicant has regrettably put before the court a profoundly distorted factual and legal picture. The entirety of its case hinges on a deliberately curated, decontextualized, and manipulative description of the reality of current hostilities.
South Africa has launched an emergency case at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, arguing that Israel stands in breach of the UN Genocide Convention signed in 1948 in the wake of the Holocaust. Pretoria wants judges to force Israel to immediately stop the Gaza campaign launched after the October 7 Hamas attacks that killed 1,140 people, according to an AFP tally based on Israeli figures. At least 23,469 people, mostly women and children, have been killed in Israel's offensive, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. Tal Becker, a top lawyer representing Israel, said South Africa had regrettably put before the court a profoundly distorted factual and legal picture. Using videos and pictures, Becker painted a graphic image of the horrors of the October 7 attacks for the robed judges in the Peace Palace at The Hague, where the ICJ sits.
The key component of genocide, the intention to destroy a people in whole or in part, is totally lacking. What Israel seeks by operating in Gaza is not to destroy a people, but to protect a people, its people, who are under attack on multiple fronts, and to do so in accordance with the law, even as it faces a heartless enemy determined to use that very commitment against it.
The ICJ will likely rule within a matter of weeks on South Africa's request. Its rulings will be final and legally binding, but it has little power to enforce them. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
The federal government has inaugurated the Nigeria Philanthropy Office with a commitment to establish 12 hubs across the country. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that the Nigeria Philanthropy Office targets 50% of women as beneficiaries through micro, small and medium enterprises.
This is the first ever philanthropic office inaugurated to support the renewed Hope agenda, targeting 50% women as beneficiaries through micro, small and medium enterprises.
As we set out to inaugurate the local implementation committee of the National Philanthropic Office to raise funds, catalyze support for MSMEs and post-surge operation. I appeal to all members to embark on this journey with a collective vision. A vision that sees philanthropy not as an isolated act, but as the lifeblood of our society, coursing through every vein, nourishing the roots of our nation's prosperity.
And I know we are going to partner with them. We are active partners. With our more agenda, we are going to create wealth because we have the Wealth and Creation Office in Delta State, and this is a very good thing for us, and I believe my other governors will be part of it. So we are happy and we are part of it. We are active partners.
The federal government, in collaboration with the international philanthropic organizations and partners, will raise $200 million to create jobs.
We will be instrumental in ensuring the successful implementation of the NPO mandate, and hope that this will be the beginning of a series of engagements to achieve that objective.
Nigerian philanthropists and impact investors living in the diaspora, we will be designing structures where Nigerians abroad can also be philanthropists and impact investors and support SMEs in the country.
We are trying to achieve something by the special grace of God that will change the way governance is done in the entire continent of Africa.
The office will also provide interventions with potentials for employing many Nigerians. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
And the federal government approves for commercialization of a new maize seeds variety developed by the Nigeria crop scientists. The approval was granted by the National Committee on Naming, Registration and Release of Crop Varieties, Livestock Breeds and Fisheries. The new maize varieties are drought tolerant and are resistant to stem borer and fall armyworm, resulting in yield advantage of up to 10 tons per hectare under good agronomic practices. The national average for similar hybrids is 6 tons per hectare. The varieties are suitable for rainforest, Guinea and Sudan savannas. The release and registration of the 4 varieties became possible under the environmental release approval in October 2021, granted by the National Biosafety Management Agency. Development of the improved varieties was led by the Institute for Agricultural Research, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, through the Telemaize Public-Private Partnership coordinated by AATF. Now, President Bola Tinubu sympathizes with former President Goodluck Jonathan over the passing of his elder sister, Madam Obebatain Jonathan. Madam Obebatain, fondly called Amesi, was a teacher, businesswoman, mother and grandmother. President Tinubu urges Dr. Jonathan to take solace in the legacy of Amesi, who dedicated her life to the service of God and humanity. The President, in a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalali, prays for the repose of the soul of the departed and comfort for all those who mourn this painful loss. And the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Abdul Hamid Dembus, has led a delegation to condole with the family of a former Executive Director of Engineering, late Edward Amana, who passed on a few days ago after a brief illness. Charles Alpha reports.
Right at the heart of mourning, friends, loved ones and colleagues came offering words of solace. Management staff of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, which the late engineer Edward Amana was at one time part of, also came offering a shoulder to cry on. The team, led by the Director General of NTA, Saliu Abdulhamid Dembus, offered words of prayers and encouragement to the family late Amana left behind.
It's a very big loss, not only to the Nigerian Television Authority, but to the entire broadcast industry in this country and even beyond. Engineer Amana is one individual that I have known for quite a long time, and one has learned so much from him. And we pray that the Almighty God will grant his soul and eternal rest, and also the fortitude for the family and friends to bear this great loss.
For a man, a renowned and former executive director of engineering in NTA, who was at the center of the digitization switch and the establishment of NTA local management, say there are no better legacy to be remembered for than this. Edi Amana from Kogi State died on the 10th of January this year after a brief illness, and is survived by his 5 children.
I'm very grateful for NTA for coming to, condole the family, console with us. I've always been NTA children.
I believe that he has paid his dues. He had done his very best.
His wife died years ago. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
And the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, has expressed shock on the news of the death of frontline Nigerian and world-acclaimed broadcast engineer Edward Idris Amana, which occurred this Wednesday. Until his death, he was the chairman of Nigeria Digiteam, a group of stakeholders set up by the federal government to coordinate the country's migration from analog to digital broadcasting. In a statement signed by BON's Executive Secretary Yemisi Gbangboshe, the organization expresses heartfelt condolences to the family of the deceased, associates and industry stakeholders, praying for the repose of his soul. And this is where we come to the end of the news on NTA International. We thank you for your time. I'm Lami Ali, and Shegun Ajayi was the sign language interpreter. Do have a good weekend.